Welcome to H2K Infosys. H2K Infosys is a e-verify business based in Atlanta, Georgia, United States. We provide 100% job-oriented, instructor-led, face-to-face, true live online software training programs. It also includes access to cloud test lab with software tools. We provide live project for you to work on. We also provide assistance with mock interviews, resume preparation and review, and job placement assistance. H2K Infosys is trusted by so many students across the world. H2K Infosys provides world-class services in IT training with real-time project work for corporates and individuals, special IT training for MS students in the United States, software design, development, QA manual and automation, performance testing and maintenance, IT staff augmentation, job placement assistance, and tech support.
The next property, the additional properties, you can use Hibernate.dialect, which will specify what kind of a dialect that Hibernate was supposed to use during the object creation, and also the additional properties like what is the minimum size, pool size, maximum pool size, and also the show SQL property. So here you can see that the property name is Hibernate properties, and internally it consists of several properties. So that will be specified by an element called props, and the sub level you can specify any kind of properties that you want to specify. So once your local session factory bean has instantiated, it will read all the required parameters. The parameters are data source and also mapping resources and Hibernate properties. Based on these properties, it will create the session factory and it will make it available on ID property, which is my session factory. So now your my session factory will contain your session factory object. Now go and create your employee DAO class. Your DAO class is responsible for performing the database operation. Get employee details, save employee details, update employee details, or any kind of work. But before that, for our DAO class, we need a session object. That means we need our session factory to be available for our DAO class. That's the reason I have declared a private property session factory, and it consists of setters and getters. Remember, your classes can work as a normal Pojo classes as well, and Hibernate uses dependency injection, and it will provide the session factory which got created at this level by calling the setter method. So currently, when it has called the setter method, you can see that I'm creating the Hibernate template object by using the retrieved session factory. But how Hibernate will know about this, how Spring will know about this particular class and it will call your Hibernate template, your session object. You are supposed to configure your bean, your employee bean within your data.xml, and here you can see that bean ID equal to employee DAO, and the class is com.simple.eao.employee DAO. This is not a Spring related class, and this is my own class. And the reason for that is to configure our session factory, we need to have a separate bean. That's why we have loaded our bean here, and you can see that I have specified the property name and I didn't specify the static value, and I am referring to the existing session factory, which is this one. So whenever it will instantiate whenever your Spring Framework instantiates this one, it will verify that you are expecting the session factory to be available for your class, and it will verify whether it has created properly or not, and it will call your setter method and it will provide you the session factory. So by using dependency injection, you can retrieve the session factory instead of you asking for Spring during your execution. Once you got the Hibernate template creation is just like creating the Hibernate template based on your session factory. So once after that, here you can see that within my get employee details, I'm directly calling Hibernate template dot get of employee bean dot class employee ID. This is just like your session dot get of employee bean dot class employee ID. So once after that, you can see that I'm not opening the session and I'm not closing the session also. Everything will be done inherently when you call this method. Now go to our index controller. See, now you are not supposed to create your DAO object on your own. You can't instantiate a DAO object like employee DAO, emp DAO equal to new employee DAO. You can't instantiate a new object and call the get employee details method. If you want, you can, but your Spring won't provide the dependency injection for your employee DAO class, and it won't insert your session factory for your set session method. You are not supposed to create an instance on your own, and you are supposed to ask Spring Framework to provide an instance of employee DAO. See, then only your Spring will call the setter method and it will provide the session factory by calling the set session factory method, and it's possible for us, then only it will be possible for us to create the Hibernate template. So that means you are supposed to use the bean, whatever that you have created, whatever that you have asked Spring to create. The bean name is employee DAO. Now come back to our index controller. See, if we didn't create employee DAO, emp DAO dot get employee details. If you didn't get the object for this, you are going to get a null pointer exception. Whenever index controller object will be created by your dispatcher servlet, it verifies what are all the properties that are available. Currently, you can see that I have declared a property private employee DAO emp DAO. The name is same as that of whatever that was available within your annotation data.xml file. And I have mentioned that an annotation called @auto-wired, which means auto wiring is true. This is just like the auto wire true property which we have seen in Spring Core XML file. Whenever you have specified auto wired, by default it uses the name, and here the name is emp DAO, and Spring verifies what are all the beans that are available with the name emp DAO. Then Spring identifies that there is a class com.simple.dao.employee DAO object. Spring will incorporate, dependently inject that particular DAO, emp DAO within your property, and it will make it available for your controller class. That means for your index controller employee DAO, you need to have setters and getters. your setter method will be called by your Spring framework to embed or to dependently inject the employee DAO object. That means currently you have EMP DAO object available. Once you got the EMP DAO object, you are going to call getEmployeeDetails method. The getEmployeeDetails method, you already have the Hibernate template because for the same object already setSession method was called. Spring will provide the same object during both the times. Once after that, it will call the get method and it will retrieve the information and it will provide the employee object back to the caller, nothing but your index controller. Now your index controller will take the employee object and it will forward the response back to our view object. Currently, I have written a simple listener. This is my context listener, and in my context listener, I'm just instantiating our logger, our log4j. I'm going to instantiate within the context initialize method, but I'm not writing any log4j XML files. It is just based on the basic configuration. The reason for that is just like your struct, your Spring also uses log4j as a logging framework. Once you have used log4j, you can see the messages that will be generated by your Spring framework. Now let us execute our welcome file one more time. You can see all these messages that are generated by our Spring framework. You can see that how it has loaded the web application context, and you can see that these are all not required. Default annotation handler mapping. You can see that it has created all the mappings: index/login, index/welcome, index/date, message. And finally, your dispatcher servlet has called, and you can see that the last modified value test MVC index welcome, rendering view with login with the model and static attributes. So once you have enabled logging, you will see plenty of messages that will be generated by your Spring framework. Now enter the details. 1 Steve. So here you can see that Spring Hibernate get method executing, and it has created your Hibernate template object, opening Hibernate session, which was done by your session factory utils. This is framework related class, and finally you can see that the query that got generated by Hibernate, eagerly flushing Hibernate session, closing Hibernate session. So opening of Hibernate session, closing of Hibernate session. You can see that this was performed by your Spring Hibernate only, but not by us. Finally, it is contacting your internal resource view resolver with this name, and it is forwarding the response back to your view. Take a look at this. Dispatch a servlet with name annotation, processing get request for test MVC index/login. Then it contacts default annotation handler mapping/index/login to handler execution chain with handler, and it is contacting annotation method handler adapter to get the actual index controller. Here you can see that the object that got generated and also the object for your handler adapter. So once you have enabled logging framework, you can see all the messages, debug messages that are generated by your framework. Let me know if you guys have any issues in understanding the data.xml file. Are you guys able to follow?
Chris?
Yep.
Here we are deploying this application in Tomcat, right?
Oh yeah, we are deploying in Tomcat only. Correct.
So if we deploy in JBoss or like the application server, is the data source we can create both at same or in the server and this one?
If you are deploying in application server, you can just remove this data source and refer to the data source by using JNDI, whatever that was available in our application server.
So just giving the name, right? The JNDI.
Exactly, JNDI name.
So we don't need to specify like.
You don't need to write one more bean and configure on your own, because you have already configured one data source with respect to application server.
So we don't need to give any path or something like that, right?
You don't need to specify anything. You can just remove this one, and you can configure the data source based on the JNDA reference.
Oh, okay. So if you want to create connection pool, we can create over there itself, right?
In the application server?
Yeah.
Yeah. So once you are configuring the data source means it will create a connection pool.
Okay.
Data source is related to the connection pool.
So if you want to create, I mean in here, like in a web server, so connection pool we can declare here like a bean ID or like the additional properties, under the additional properties.
Yeah, that's what we have done, right? We are creating the connection pool externally because we are using a web server, and we are supposed to create externally because web servers won't provide properly.
No, I'm asking the pool size.
Here you can add one more parameter, property, name equal to minimum size, value equal to 10, and also specify the maximum size, value equal to 100.
Oh. So
just refer to the actual properties that you need to use in Google and specify the parameter names.
okay. Not in the additional properties, right? Only here we can.
Oh yeah, you can directly specify in the data source level itself, because your data source is the one which maintains the connection pool.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's what I'm asking.
Yeah.
Not in additional. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. With respect to your question, Vijay, normally whenever they're providing the usernames and password to the application server, they won't provide root and root. It will be like app_admin or app_admin, which is exclusively used for applications only, and for that particular user at the database level you should provide the access, like grant access, either for insert, update or delete. You are not going to provide the permissions for DDL, and it should be only for DML, or else the other way. Just now we have discussed, when you are deploying onto the application server, anyway you are not going to configure all your usernames and password at the application level. You are simply going to refer the JNDI name, and it's not required for you to specify the properties within your config file. We'll discuss in tomorrow's class, Jitin. Tomorrow's class will deal with how to configure tiles and how to make use of JDBC template. Just now we have seen about Hibernate template, and we'll see how to use the JDBC template, and after that we'll take a look at how to use the resources.
Krish,
Yep.
when we are creating the Spring project,
Okay.
so we just go for dynamic and
Dynamic web project.
We have to include the jar files, right? That's it, right?
Yeah, jar files, but remember you need to include all the jar files related to Spring as well as Hibernate.
Oh, okay. So how can we get that the Spring element, the symbol, the leaf one?
No, this one actually I have included a plugin for Spring. If you guys not able to get the plugin, go and verify in the Eclipse marketplace for Spring. Check for Spring plugin. You can include STS plugin. Go for Spring. Once after that, it will populate a plugin from STS site, which is developed by Spring framework itself.
STS.
Yeah,
Okay.
this one.
Okay.
Spring source tool suite. You can directly embed this one to your to your Eclipse.
That time we can, I can directly create the Spring project, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Spring, it is an open source, so no need to pay anything.
Oh.
Oh no, I'm asking. I'm providing the answer for Jitin's question.
Thank you, Krish.
Yeah, you're welcome. Okay. Okay, guys. If you guys have no other questions, you guys can leave from the chat.
So many of our students have given testimonials on how our training programs are. You will find them on kudzu.com and on our website h2kinfosys.com. On our website h2kinfosys.com, you will also find more detailed information on who we are, the courses that we offer, what each course covers. Also, if you're interested in a demo program, please register on our homepage on the left-hand side. Just give us more information about yourself and we will send you a link for a demo class. The demo class is absolutely free. Experience our commitment by just attending an orientation workshop at no cost. Our team of faculty and advisors are here to guide you with the right information. If you still have more questions, please feel free to call us. Call us at 770-777-1269. This is a United States number. If you're calling from the UK, call us at 020-337-17615. You can also email us at training@h2kinfosys.com or h2kinfosys@gmail.com. Thank you for watching our videos. We wish you a great career in information technology.